Do you ever look at something and it instantly sparks joy? I've noticed that all my favorite things, favorite designs, favorite characters all have one thing in common: the hee-hee factor. What is the hee-hee factor, you ask? Well, I just made it up, but it's when I look at something and I go, hee-hee, that's cute, or hee-hee, that's silly, or hee-hee, that's fun, and it gives my brain a little serotonin boost. Speaking of serotonin boost, I doodled this little athletic bunny in my sketchbook, and I don't know about you, but this scores high enough on the hee-hee scale for me, so let's bring him to life. First, I'll grab my iPad and launch Nomad Sculpt. I start by blocking out the shapes, which are very simple in this design. A sphere for the head, cylinder for the headband, rounded cylinders for the ears, spheres for his little eyes, and a tube for his mouth. His face looks so silly. I love it. For the body, I use a sphere that I shape into a sort of teardrop, tubes for the legs, and spheres for the arms. When I designed Papa, which is his name by the way, I envisioned a very simple and plain design. He was going to be a white bunny with a red headband. But that looked a little too plain, so I gave him a red bodysuit. Then I was being silly and sculpted a second version with a six-pack. Even with those changes, something is still missing. This design has not reached its full hee-hee potential, but I don't know how to make it better. Yet. So I'm gonna let that cook in my brain for a couple of days. While in the brain oven, it's time for the French word of the day, lapin, which means rabbit. Naming him Papa is like the French equivalent of naming a bunny Bun Bun. Wait a minute, what if I made it a Bun Bun? Ho ho, now that's something I can work with. Let's add a bit of texture and paint it like bread. I mean, look at him. So silly. That's a hee-hee high score right there. I didn't stop there and made a yoga version. Yes, the yoga mat is a cheese slice. And a heavy lifting version. Yes, the weights are also made out of cheese. Look at them. You can't tell me you don't want to eat them. You can't. That's illegal. Alrighty, let's prepare our little friends for 3D printing. To do so, I'll first need to separate the buns into pieces to make it easier to paint. Then I'll use a slicing software called Chitubox. I'm starting with the heavy lifting cheese bun because that's my favorite. I'll need to hollow some of the pieces to save money on resin. Then added drain holes and supports to all the pieces. Let's export the file and get the print started. If you are enjoying the video so far, please consider subscribing for more hee-hee content. If you'd like to print your own Papa, the 3D print files are available for purchase on my website. The link will be in the description. A couple of hours later, the print is complete. And it looks like all the pieces printed correctly. Off camera, I'll remove the supports and clean the pieces. Once dry, they'll go for a spin in the curing station for a couple of minutes. Alrighty, let's do a print inspection to check if I cut the models correctly. Let's check the head, band, and ears. Nice! The body looks fine and the head fits perfectly. Awesome! So I made a boo-boo when I set up the print file for the cheese weights, which caused a bit of layer shifting. My bad. But they still fit perfectly on the pole, and I can easily fix it, so no need to reprint them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I completely assembled Papa to check his balance and whoop! I added a piece of paper underneath and that seems to stabilize him. So it's really just his soles that needs a little sanding, but I think the safer option would be to sculpt him a base, so he won't be at a risk of falling over. Let's do that real quick. I tried reusing the cheese mat, but that's too much cheese for one design. So I made something a little rounder and simpler. This time I'm gonna print it on my dad's filament printer since it's gonna go twice as fast. I'll let that print and come back later to check on it. Bye bye! Before I can paint Pampa, I need to plug the drain holes and fix the print defects with UV putty. This is the special putty that hardens when exposed to UV light, aka sunlight. Then I'll sand everything smooth and wash everything in warm soapy water to remove all the dust. Once that was dried, I went outside and primed everything with white primer. Behind the scenes, I also printed and assembled the other buttons. I don't want the video to get too repetitive, so they'll each get their own short video later. So let's put that aside and check on the base. Oh, I screwed up again. Because I printed the base flat on the bed, the top layers of the model look a little flat. I should have printed it standing up instead. Well, lesson learned. Now let's fix it with polyfiller. In reality, I could reprint the base, but I really hate wasting print materials, so as long as Pampa's little feet fit in the base, which they do, I'm happy with that. Once the polyfiller was dry, I sanded it lightly and painted it a buttery yellow color. I thought it'd be cool if it looked like a real blob of butter, so I mixed some acrylic modeling paste to my yellow paint and spread it on the base. It kinda looks like icing. I kinda wanna eat it. I'll set that aside to dry and we can finally paint Pampa. The 2 coats of primer are all dry. I'll start with the weight pull. It wasn't on purpose, but now that I look at it, it really looks like a pretzel stick. Then both cheese weights will get a couple of coats of cheddar yellow. And the headband gets the same buttery yellow as the base. For the body, I wanted to try painting with a sponge for 2 reasons. 1, the sponge will add a soft and subtle texture, and 2, it won't leave brush marks. I could achieve the same result with my airbrush, but I hate cleaning it when I'm done, and I enjoy painting with a paintbrush a lot more, honestly. I quickly realized I wasn't gonna be able to get in the little crevices with the sponge, so I switched back to the paintbrush for the base color. My favorite part in the whole process is painting my models. I love painting in general, but it's at that stage that the model really comes to life. I've said this before in my videos, but 3D modeling and 3D printing really blows my mind. Like, I've made this on my iPad. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. Just insane. With the base coat done, we are now at the most important stage of this project, the breadification stage. To pull this off, I'll need to gradually add layers of color and blend them in as I go. This is where the sponge from earlier will get handy. Essentially, I just dab the color on gradually. I try to avoid the areas where his limbs connect or where there's creases. I need those spots to stay the lightest color because that's really what's gonna make it look like real bread. Look at that, Pampa is already starting to look a little toasty. I'll let the paint dry and do the same to the ears and head. Again, staying away from creases or where the shapes connect with each other. To paint the face, I use a dotting tool and dark brown paint. I should have picked a smaller dot size because I messed up the mouth and then made it worse by trying to wipe it off, but I managed to clean it up with a wet Q-tip, so all good now. So here's the silly fact for y'all. The French word for bread is pain, which is spelled P-A-I-N. At first, I wanted to spell Pampa as Pampa, but in English that just reads as pain, which honestly is kind of hilarious. Should I spell it pain instead? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, to give him his final toasty look, I'm gonna switch to pastels. I'll do a first pass with golden yellow to build up the saturation. Pastels are so easy to blend and layer. which made this part super fun. I mean, I had fun the whole time. This was such a project for me from start to finish. When I was done with the yellow, I switched to the burnt sienna. Oh, he's looking real toasty now. And lastly, I'll add just a little bit of a darker brown, but not too much. We don't want him to look burnt. C'est un petit pain bien cuit, mais pas brûlé. I repeated the same step for the face, but I didn't go as dark. I wanted his head lightly toasted, so I can add his blushy cheeks with the darker brown pastel. I use a Q-tip to rub those on, and then went back with my little brush to touch it up. Hehe, so cute! Let's do the ears as well. I wanted them to look more toasty on top, so this time I added a lot more brown. This looks so much like real bread. I can't believe it looks this good. Let's take these outside for a few coats of matte varnish to seal the paints and pastels. Then I'll use gloss varnish on the headband to give it a buttery shine. The base will also get a coat of gloss varnish to make it nice and shiny. Ooh, that looks so good. A couple of hours later, the other pieces are dry and sealed. It's important to seal pastels properly so they won't rub off after all that hard work. Now we just have to glue him together. All done now, let's see the final shots. So, what do you think? I think he turned out so cute. I love him so much. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time.